Hello everybody, thank you for joining this presentation on our new UltraMale broiler breeder feeder. My name is Frank Luttels, since a few years in the industry. Since 16 joined Chore-Time, and 17 they promoted me to their layer product manager, responsible for the whole nest package, but also mixed responsible for the floor feeding and the feeding system of broiler breeders. I want to tell you a little bit today about our new UltraMale male feeder for broiler breeders. What is it? How does it work? What can you do with it? Benefits, all that kind of stuff. So how does it work? First thing you do in the evening, the morning, whatever, you fill the hopper with the daily ration, the daily portion of feed. So you add these 50 kilograms, these 100 pounds, what your birds, what is calculated, what your production manager tells you need to eat every day. You fill the daily ration and then you run the auger. You run the auger normally in the high position, so in the presentation position we call it, or the upper position. You run the auger to fill the system. You see the real nice consistent fill rate of that auger. We also can adjust that fill rate. We applied for a patent, we don't show it here, just to provide from copying. We have a boot with a knob on it and you can adjust the fill rate of that auger stepless. So it's a stepless adjustment of the fill rate. Easy adjusted, and then it's presentation feeding. So, but how do we control that auger runtime? We control that with the sensor in the boot. So you dump the amount of feed, you start running the auger, and it stops when the sensor is free. So when the sensor is free, the auger stops, and because we know the amount of birds, the feeding length we need, and the amount of feed that will be in and will be needed, we know how long it runs, and it will be full for 90–95%. You can adjust that length or fill rate, you can adjust that with your adjustable boot. So when you want to have a little bit further fill rate or a little bit shorter, you adjust the fill rate on the boot, as said, stepless, and you can have a little bit longer or a little bit shorter distribution. At the end of the feeding system, we have the motor with the drop and a ball in it. That prevents maybe a little bit of feed, a little bit of breed that falls in the trough to fall out when it runs. But also is our prevention, when the sensor would fail, normally it would run empty at the end. We prevent that with this because we have a limit switch here. So it will run full and it will stop the system. So not all your feed is spoiled on the floor. We also have the option that you, instead of a sow ball here, you add a feeder pan here. So the leftover feed and everything will come in the pan and the birds can eat it from there. That's just for the latest little bit. It's not a real feeder or used for feeding, but it's just when there is a little bit left over in the feeder in the UltraMale that drops in the morning when the system runs. So you have two options. Either you close it and you dump it in a bucket once or twice a week, or you have a feeder pan underneath and it will be dumped in the pan and feeder pan and they can eat it from there. Here's a movie when the sun comes up in the morning and it was already filled in the air, it was lowered to the actual presentation height, and here you see the birds, how they start eating. You see they find their way real quick and they all line up. And that lining up is really important. It's also important for your inspection. When you want to do male inspection, it's really easy on these line systems to inspect them, because they are standing nicely in line and you can catch them easy, you can weigh them, you can inspect them and look after them. One of the things with the system is that they have a ton of space to eat from. And that's with a purpose. That's done specially that the eating time is longer. The longer the eating time is, the more calm it is for a while in the house. And you see actually with these systems that the females often are quicker ready eating than the males. See how they have to pack to empty that? We raise the feeder fairly high, so you don't have any feed spillage. We have a small anti-roost wire on top. You also can see on our display over there. In general, we say the anti-roost wire is enough, even without shocker, to prevent birds from sitting on it. You see, it's getting empty. Some already are done. So that's how this UltraMale works. It's really simple, it's really easy to handle, and that's one of the key features. First one, uniform feed distribution. So you distribute over a whole length the feed really equal. And that's important for your birds, because the more equal you feed, the more equal the birds will be, and better fertility you will have. The feed is distributed quickly, so not really important when you go presentation feeding, because you distribute in the air and you present it. But some of the customers, they use it not as the presentation feeder, but just one fixed level. Some will switch the light off, other one will just run it with the light on, a little bit different. But we recommend the easiest way to go forward is with presentation feeding. That's the most secure way to use it. Easy adjustable feed level, as said earlier. Stepless, really easy to do. Presentation feeding or stationary trough. Easy meal inspection during feeding. You have half an hour to walk by, to grab them, to inspect, to do all that kind of stuff. And yeah, the longer eating times already told about, less stress. So we give more quality time to the females because of the males are eating longer. Maybe we can introduce that at Chick-fil-A. Another thing, easy installation and really easy management. And management is a key factor nowadays in our farms, because often we have to rely on not the farmer himself managing it, but we have to rely on third-party labor, all that kind of stuff. And the quality of the labor we get in these farms is not always from a level that they are understanding exactly to do adjustment to the systems and all that kind of stuff. And this is really easy. Real simple, everyone can run it, and not a ton of settings, nothing. You dump the amount of feed, you run it, and that's it. It's suitable and usable double-sided eating or single-sided eating. I will show another picture how that looks like. It's a single trough design, so it's space-saving. So when you have a pan feeder of a diameter or you have a trough, it's space-saving in your house design. The hopper can be installed in the beginning or in the middle of the feed line. So when you go longer on a certain length, you have to go to double hopper, but you can have it both. And we go lengths up to 600 foot, 180 to 183 meters with one or two motors. Feeding from one side, often done in the more European style systems with community nest. You have the outer wall, you have the feeder next to the wall, and the birds, the males, eat from one side. We made a handy, nice chart for customers where they can see amount of birds, length, in metric and imperial, amount of feed and which hopper size you need. On the amount of feed that the birds need and the amount of space they need, we went off from the management guidelines from COP and Avian Gen. We took them as our footprint, our blueprint, how to go forward and how to use. You see single boot, 91 meter is max, and twin boot, that's the 183 meter. Two-sided feeding, often used in the US for the single hole nest houses, also very good for replacing in older houses for replacement. Also here you see the chart, single boot, double boot, which type of hopper you need, and easy way to calculate, okay, I have so many birds, that length, and you're done in a minute to calculate that. Typical layout with a community nest. Earlier days it was always with pan feeder, sometimes male watering, not often. You can have that here. But with the UltraMale against the wall, you see it's space saving. And especially when you do presentation feeding, when you winch it up after eating and you lower it, you have a real open scratch area and you save a ton of space against a pen feeder. Another critical factor in your whole broiler breeder operation is, of course, that you have a good nest. You saw the community house design. Think about our best-in-class rack-derived expulsion system, or RDE nest, when you want to have as much A-grade eggs as possible. It's always important to have a combination of good factors and good systems combined in your house. The UltraMale is one, but a good nest with high-quality eggs is another one. So think about that when you're going to design a broiler breeder house. Typical nest box house with single hole nest, on the slats against the wall, water, feeders, nest boxes, all the slat. That remains all the same, but we had the all pan feeder there, and the pan feeder can be replaced then with the UltraMale twin side eating. So this one will be out, that one will be in, and you have a replacement for your current situation or your current house. That was about the UltraMale feeder, what I can tell you. It's on display, you can see it yourself, you can see it live. Thank you very much for attention, and when there are questions, let me know.